Walsh Protects You and Your Family presents the Singapore Parenting Festival sale on Shopee. From 17th to 23rd May, enjoy fantastic deals on diapers, formula milk, homeware, books and more from participating merchants. Shop and receive vouchers worth up to $100, plus a free welcome hamper when you signed up for Shopee Mums Club, the go-to place for exclusive deals for parents. Proudly brought to you by MediaCorp and the Asian Parent. Scott's multivitamin gummies support your kids' growth. Dumex Do Grow, comprehensive nutrients. Try Milo with more milk and 50% less sugar. Nature One Dairy, your partner in parenthood. The following partners. And Shopee, #1 online shopping platform in Singapore. Shopee! Walsh Protects You and Your Family presents the Singapore Parenting Festival sale on Shopee. From 17th to 23rd May, enjoy fantastic deals on diapers, formula milk, homeware, books and more from participating merchants. Shop and receive vouchers worth up to $100, plus a free welcome hamper when you signed up for Shopee Mums Club, the go-to place for exclusive deals for parents. Proudly brought to you by MediaCorp and the Asian Parent.
Hi and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out this Saturday morning. Now, it really depends on what your weather looks like outside. If it's nice and gloomy, then, grab a pillow and, just get comfortable in front of the screen, because we're going to talk about education and enrichment of your child, right? And we have got 3 amazing speakers today just to bring you through this topic. I mean, come on, our kids are at home so much these days due to the tightening of the COVID measures, and we're probably just wondering, how do we get our my child? How do I get my child to sit down and still be engaged through these online learning platforms that exist all around us, right? And it's the new norm. So we've got to learn to work with what is currently happening, right? So if you've got any of these questions in your head, you've come to absolutely the right place. So thank you so much again for joining us. Now, before we get started, let me quickly go through some house rules. Now, to make sure everyone can hear us loud and clear, you will be automatically muted upon entering the webinar. And if you have any burning questions which you'd like to ask, do use the Q&A box, all right? We notice a lot of the questions come in the comments tab, and we really don't want to miss them out. So use the Q&A box, and we have 3 speakers today. So if there's somebody that you really like to, have your questions answered by, then let's maybe put the name of the person, the speaker whom you'd like to address the question to, and that would help us, all right, on the back end. Thank you so much for helping us out with that. And yes, of course, to find out more about the Singapore Parenting Festival 2021, if you want like recordings of the previous webinars we've done, or something that's really exciting happening at this festival, which is the grand sale. Now, I've been in there and it's really fantastic. The prices and the offers are legit. Okay, I mean, I'd be buying stuff off the shelves if I had any necessity to. Of course, my husband will cut up my credit card. But the grand sale is going on right now, so you need to visit spf2021.theasianparent.com. All right, so let's get started without any further ado. Oh, before that, hang on a second. I also have to mention, right? You have to stay tuned. You have to have your eyes peeled because you've got surprises coming during this webinar. Okay, so do keep your eyes peeled, keep that camera phone ready, right? And let's move on without further ado. So I'll just introduce myself first. I'm a wife to my loving, supportive husband over there in the picture. And I'm a mother to 3 very free-spirited children. My eldest is 11, my middle child is 5, and my youngest son is 3. And I am also the founder of Just Doula LLP, where I am a birth doula. Now, you might be wondering what a birth doula does. Now, I empower families in labor and birth through physical, emotional, informational, and environmental support. And if you'd like to find out more, you can just go to my website or even my Facebook page, Just Doula. So it's www.justdoula.org. Now, In view of today's topic, I also thought I'd share with you that a little secret of mine. I was in the education sector for 7 years. I was in a public school teaching, and I've also been dabbling with education ever since then. So it is a topic very, very close to my heart. Okay, so enough about me, right? We've got three very, very, very special speakers today, and we're so privileged to have them on a Saturday morning, guys. Beat that, okay? Now, first up, we have Miss Melissa Yo. Hi, Melissa. Can you say a quick hi to us this morning? She's muted. Hi.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Okay, all right. Hi. Okay, so now Melissa is the head of teaching department, the teaching department for an SSA. Now, SSA stands for Social Service Agency, Early Intervention Center with 12 years of experience in practice. Now, more importantly, she is an active advocate for respectful, engaging, and functional early intervention for both children and their families, which I find so important, right? I mean, we're all trying so hard to create conducive learning environments for our children. So, I mean, it takes a village to raise a child. So it's not, just one person, it's everybody, okay? Thank you so much, Melissa, for saying hi to us. Our second speaker this morning is Mr. Parkson Look. Now, he is the head of programs at the Center for Fathering. Good morning, Parkson.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Parkson, for waking up this early with us. So Parkson Look is a husband, father, and grandfather, and the author of The Modern Day Dad. Now, incidentally, I've also told Parkson that he needs to share with me the location of the Fountain of Youth. Okay, guys, I mean, look at him, grandfather, right? Can't imagine, seriously.
A new grandfather.
Oh, new grandfather. Wow. Congratulations are in order. Thank you so much, Parkson, for sharing that with us. We've got more congratulations in a while, okay? Just give me 1 minute. Now, I have to introduce our final speaker. Now, our final speaker is Ike Chuan, or he likes to be called AC, right? And he is the country manager for Lingo A Singapore. Now, before I say anything else about him, now this guy is a new dad this morning, okay? I'm talking about like fresh out the oven, like he's from the hospital. So we need to congratulate this man. Congratulations, AC.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you everyone for that. So we just had a newborn on Thursday, and I'm gonna say really a big shout out for all the doctors and nurses who are working through this period. I mean, it's a really tough period, but yeah, still showing up at work 110%, giving everything to us. I really appreciate that.
Oh, and is it a prince or a princess?
It's a prince.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's going to be a techie just like you, huh? All right. So yes, AC comes from a family of educators with expertise in building tech-enabled businesses at Uber and McKinsey Digital. And he's on a mission, everyone, not just a new daddy, okay? He's got like more up his sleeve, okay? He wants to develop the next generation education platform that brings the best of global education into Singapore for our modern young learners. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us, AC, despite the fact that I heard your wife is being discharged this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this session on time, actually.
Okay. So let's go on without any further delay. Okay, so that AC can get back to his family. All right. So without any further delay, Melissa, I'm sure our viewers are excited to pick up some tips and tricks that can help boost our children's social and academic development. So over to you, Melissa.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Hi, a very good morning, mummies and daddies. My name is Melissa. Today, I'm very excited to share with you guys on some pointers on how to boost your child's social and academic development. The things that I'll be sharing will not be completely new. There are things that you guys might already been doing. So I'm just going to place some emphasis on some points. They are rather general and easy to apply in daily life and your child's routine. So while I do acknowledge that social and academic development are important, however, we have to recognize that these skills are not picked up in isolation. Children learn and pick up new skills when things are linked to one another. The more relationship they have with each other, the more links and connection they have, the easier is it for them to learn. So that brings me to my very first point, which is to make learning meaningful. So meaningful such as functional in a natural environment, real life, and prior knowledge. So for functional, like I've mentioned, learning does not happen in isolation. When learning is functional, they often have a purpose. So instead of isolating learning, if we put learning into the daily routine, it actually helps children to learn better. And for learning a natural environment, positive interaction with the natural environment is an important part of healthy child's development. So interaction enhances learning and the quality of life. Nature play, so playing in the natural environment stimulates creativity and problem-solving skills. It provides countless opportunities for discovery and creativity. So children think, question, and make hypotheses, thereby developing an inquisitive mind. When we structure learning in the natural environment, we create a platform for children to learn at their pace. This boosts children's development as they seek to want to learn more. I think as adults, one of the most important things that we can do for our child is to be able to cultivate that mind, to be inquisitive, to want to discover and learn more about the world around them. And my next point, real life. While we involve our young ones in our daily routine to create real life experiences, I just also want to remind parents to provide child-sized material for children if we expect them to be independent. Next point, prior knowledge. It is well known that children build on what they already know and have come to understand through formal and informal experiences. So for those of you who want to know more, these are called schemas by psychology John Piaget. So learning and teaching happens formally and informally. Children learn to make meaning out of their daily interaction with the world, their experiences. The more opportunities they have, the faster they pick up and learn. So for example, if a child sees a dog, she might know that, okay, this is a dog, but she might be confused whether this might be a dog or a cat. And then the next time when she sees a four-legged animal that says woof, she understands that this is a dog. And then she sees it in the park, she sees it downstairs, she sees it in different places. So when through formal education, when the teacher says this is a dog, the child is already able to link the different experience and understand quicker and pick up learning faster that this is a dog.
Sorry, Melissa, just to touch on the point of natural environment. When you mention a natural environment, what exactly are we referring to? Are we referring to like, you know, when we are at home, is that a natural environment, or are you talking about the outdoors where we're talking about like nature and stuff?
A natural environment would be both whatever is like meaningful for the child. So it can be at home. So like, for example, we want to teach a child to pour. We try to do it like in the kitchen, like, you know, naturally, not like isolated or just pour. So it doesn't have any meaning for the child. So whatever is like in the natural environment, it can be home, it can be in the park, whatever that is in the child's routine.
So we don't need to like especially engineer situations. Sometimes, you know, whatever we do in the day are great learning opportunities for our children, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Yeah, so that brings me to my next point, which is to create learning opportunities. So although the natural environment provides countless opportunities for discovery, some of the skills that we might want the child to pick up might not be easily occurring in a natural environment. So when this happens, what can we do? We can provide opportunities, and one of the ways is to engineer situation. So some of the most natural learning for children had a lot of planning by adults behind. So it looks natural for the child, but actually behind the adult is like planning this, planning that. Yeah. So here are a few examples that we can do for the child when we engineer the situation. Like placing object within child's sight but out of their reach is a strategy that requires simple environmental manipulation. So depending on what skill we want to target for the child. So if a social skill, like we want to teach the child to say please. So we find something that the child likes, but put it inside but out of reach for the child. So they actually encourage the child to actually make a request to say please. So you have to make sure that the child can actually seize it and the child likes it, but not easily reached. So the child can actually make requests. And also another example of things that adult can do is when we purposely fail to provide necessary equipment or materials to overlook a familiar or important component of an activity or a routine. So for example, we can say, oh, let's have a painting activity, but we forget to bring the paintbrush. So that will encourage children to actually make requests or ask. Another example is omitting or changing a familiar step or element in a well-practiced routine activity. So while maybe during mealtime, instead of using spoon, you pass the child a fork, or the adult uses a fork to drink the soup. Yeah. So
So would these be situations or things that we look out for when we actually look at our children's preschools, per se? Let's say we're in the middle of choosing a preschool for our child. Would these be things that we should potentially look out for? Or maybe you would have, because we've got some viewers who have been asking, so, would childhood school, like would school, I guess this is preschool in that matter, be considered a natural environment to nurture our children? And then there was a question about curriculum. So I guess I'm trying to, just gel everything together. So
Sure.
what would you say?
So like I mentioned, learning takes place in a formal and informal. So for formal education, preschool is considered natural, but sometimes children pick up learning through informal experiences. So like when parents provide these opportunities for children in the environment, actually help them to enhance their learning better. So yes, preschool is also considered a natural environment that is through formal education.
Great.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Yeah, carry on.
So another point to provide learning opportunities is to be able to provide language for our child. So we boost our child's development when we use our words and vocabulary to create meaning to what we are doing in the presence of the child, or add meaning to what they are doing by narrating. So for example, for parents can actually talk about or describe what they are doing, seeing or eating in the presence of a child. So like outside when we're walking in the park, say, oh, I see a blue bird. So parents actually use the vocabulary and describe what she sees. So the child can actually pick up this learning. Everyone emphasize on the learning of blue. So we can emphasize like a blue bird, like slow down on some of the words. And also commenting. So parents can also provide narrative for the child's action when they occur. So what the child is doing, seeing or eating. So not only just describing their own action, but describing the child's action. So it provides vocabulary and enhances their learning. And the last one is to have expansion on the child. So if, for example, we go to the park and the child sees a dog, so the child just says dog. So parents can expand on the vocabulary. So, oh yeah, you see a brown dog. So you can expand on the child's vocabulary by adding on additional description.
All right. Thank you so much, Melissa, for that. I think as a parent right now, when you say take a step back, right? I definitely need to learn to do that, because sometimes we want to, take charge of the situation and go, oh, don't make a mess, or, don't go there, or don't touch that, or, that kind of thing. And naturally, of course, the learning stops, right? So I think that's something that I have to take away for myself at this moment. I don't know about the rest of our viewers, but yes, right now we'd like to have a poll. So guys, we need you to enter your responses to this poll. Now, what is your favorite activity with your child? There are a couple of options out there. We've got cooking, board games, outdoor activities, and family TV shows. Now, it's only just going to be up there for a minute. So quickly, just click on your favorite activity with your child. I know for me, we are a very outdoorsy family, but now given the new COVID situation, we're all stuck at home. So we're literally at each other's throats. Okay, guys. But yeah, it's something that we love as a family, to get some sun, and to run around in nature. And as Melissa rightfully said, there's so much to learn from your natural environment, so many textures, colors, sounds, and your five senses just get stimulated, with the outdoors, and that's why we love it so much. And we love making cookies and DIY pizzas as well. So it's quite a messy household. And if you look at my house, it's in quite a mess. So yeah, if we maybe could just are the results out yet, guys? It's quite a quick poll. Let's take a look at our results. Oh, yes. Everybody's in this with me. So it's outdoor activities, right? Like I always say, it's the one thing that we cannot do, we want to have. It's always it's always that one thing, right? I'm sure most of you can agree with me. So yes, outdoor activities. And I think Melissa's got some tips for us with regards to outdoor activities, don't you, Melissa?
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you take us through, the examples of some activities and, different levels of engagement that we can have when we have these activities, including the great outdoors. Yeah.
Sure. The next slide. Yeah, so as simple as like walking in the park, we can embed a lot of learning opportunities. So like from your house, walking to the lift, we can start counting the steps that you walk. counting out loud to your child so he can understand, so he can make meaning of it. We can even walk fast or slow, like concepts. So suddenly we can like hold his hand and run very fast. We say, oh, fast. And then we go slow and then we do stop. So the child actually knows how to like stop and understand the meaning of stop. We can even like embed like counting colors inside. When we look at the environment, oh, look at the green leaf. And then like showing like 2 different leaves are the same color. So again, concept same and different. And then like touching the different texture of the leaf. Even like the buttons in the leaf, like circle. So these are different concepts available in the environment. And also like the weather. So you're walking, you can say that today is rainy. So is a little bit wet. Yeah, so we can also talk about the weather when we have a walk in the park. So these are different things that we don't have to isolate teaching to be like, okay, let's teach 30 minutes a day. But you can actually do it in an environment that is very natural all around us. And the next one would be sensory beam. This one requires a little bit of like planning. So we also can embed like learning insights such as sharing. So if this is how we engineer situation. If we want two children to be sharing, instead of having like 2 bins, we can have 1 sensory bin. So they take turns. They take turns and they share. They listen to instructions such as depending on what's in the sensory bin, we can have instruction from parents. And then concepts again, colors. If you build a tower tall or short. Yeah, so these are different things that can be embedded. So when we present activity to our children, we don't just like put it there for them to do. Simple, giving them vocabulary to, oh, look, this is tall, this is short. Actually also enhance their learning.
Melissa, on the concept of sharing, you mentioned about, so that's social interaction basically, right? Some of our parents, and there's a question here actually from one of our viewers saying that, right now, because it's lockdown, right? Our children actually have a dip in social interaction. I mean, they can't, especially, if you have only one child, right? So who does your child interact with? So, will that have any effect on the social development of the child and what we can do to lessen that impact?
I guess right now it's very difficult for children, to take turns or share if they only have one child, but a good way to actually share with the adults. So parents can actually also take turns and share with the child, or like parents themselves, 2 of them take turns. Like if they can like, engineer situation. Oh, mommy is going to drink this cup first, and then after that, daddy is going to drink. So you actually model to the child how we do sharing and taking turns. And in the home setting, we can also do like social stories. So letting children know some stories for children to know what exactly is taking turns, how is sharing, emotion, like understanding how does sharing and emotion affects other children or other people. So social stories are also great ways, or even like short videos. Yeah.
Right, and this can really take place at any age, right? We can start as young as kindergarten and nursery even, right?
Yeah. So for sharing, definitely as young as possible, we can expose to children, but we also have to take note of the developmental milestone for sharing for children. So before learning to even share, children have to learn how to take turns first.
Right, and they're egocentric when they all first start out, right? So it's a bit Okay. All right, let's move on. So you've got food prep, right? I think you talked about some food preparation. Now this scares me, right? Like to no end, because your kitchen becomes like a war zone. I'm serious. Yeah. So you've got like cheese flying around, and you've got whatever, ham and egg on the floor, and So let's go through this.
I think one way we can make it a little less scary is to engage our child in the cleaning up as well. So make use of them like little minions to help us also to clean up. So it's not just the food prep, but after that finish, we have to clean up. So this also actually teaches the child like responsibility. But of course, like make it like easier for them, like the simple
fun,
steps.
right?
Yeah, fun and child size. If you want a child to help in like sweeping, then provide a child size broom instead of like the big broom, then they're like struggling over there.
My husband says that it's actually disguised child labor. So
little minions for us. Training starts from young. So for a food prep, it's like what I mentioned. If we don't have no more than 1 children at home, we can actually have food prep for our children. It's a great way to involve them in our routine that is actually interesting and fun for them. But just remember to prepare the resources or the materials that are suitable for them. So like mentioned, we can have like requesting, so asking a child to take this for you, take that for you, cut this for you. So requesting, following instruction, following direction, taking turns with the adult, and again colors, right? Because when food, there's so many colors. There's the carrot, there's the vegetable. So these are different things that we incorporate while having food preparation.
And I think for food prep also, because we had, we had a webinar, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about nutrition, right, and children. And I think getting them involved in food prep also, has a little bit of connotation to their food choices later in life. Because when they actually get involved in the food prep, right, they actually experiment with different kinds of food, and it widens the repertoire of, the foods that they want to try. So I think this is a great way of actually engaging your child, because you hit so many birds with one stone, right?
That's so true.
I'm not anti-nature, okay, guys. It's just an expression. So yeah, So thank you so much, Melissa, for all those
Thank
tips.
you.
I know I took away a lot. I know I've got some ideas for keeping the children safe and engaged at home, guys. So I hope you were writing down notes. Okay, thank you so much, Melissa. So
Thank you.
without further ado, we are going to move on to Mr. Park Sun-luk's presentation now. He is the head of programs at the Center for Fathering, which I've mentioned, and he will be sharing with you his insights on training the young brain. So Park Sun, a lot of our viewers are actually asking, how young do I start my child? What age group is this talk for? And they're actually wondering, like, when do I start? Like, is it too early to start now? And I think Melissa mentioned something about the developmental stages of your child and noting when that's appropriate. So anything to share on that?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. And to answer that question, when do we start to teach the child, our children? I think it starts from day one. The child's brain for the first 2 to 3 years is like a sponge. I'm sure you heard this saying before, the child's brain is like a sponge, and it is very true. It absorbs nearly everything. Okay, it might not comprehend everything, but it absorbs the experiences, the emotions that are being evoked, the memories, and like Melissa said, it makes connections, and it builds upon past experiences and past knowledge, and therefore it forms the connections. Now, so the important thing for parents to note is, while the teachings can start from day one, for example, language acquisition. From day one, when you bring your baby home, AC, take note. All right. Speak to the child. Speak to the child. When your wife is cutting carrots to prepare lunch or dinner, give a running commentary, give a narration of what you're doing. Describe the carrot. Describe your actions. So these are simple ways, everyday ways that you are actually downloading your child's brain with vocabulary. And the more the child listens, hears a certain words or the different words, the better the child remembers, and studies have found that by the time the child is ready for school, parents who speak to the child a lot have a larger vocabulary by the time they're ready to enter school. Now, what parents need to take note is, while you can teach the child, please manage your expectations, okay? Because, the child is new at everything, right? So you cannot expect a 2-year-old to be able to perform at the level of a 4-year-old, just to give you a simple example. So manage your expectations, but celebrate every step of progress and improvement. Just take, for example, when your child learns to walk, right? Did you teach your child to walk? No, it just happens naturally. And for the first time, he just stood up with some support, holding on to a chair or something. And then after 3 seconds, your child, falls back down on his or her butt. Did you kind of express disappointment at your child? Definitely not. But instead, you celebrated, right? And you wish you had a camera in your hands to snap the photo. So that's the kind of attitude parents need to have. All right, celebrate every progress and every improvement. Okay, so that's not my topic actually.
Sorry, Park Sun. I got to stop you for a while, because we've got a lot of viewers actually commenting and asking questions, and they're all putting it in the chat box. Now, guys, I really want to address your questions, okay? Especially for all our speakers. So do put them in the Q&A box, all right? Please, please, please do that, because I'm really, really, really loving your questions. So just keep it coming, all right? Park Sun, let's carry on. So what do you think, is a fundamental thing that our kids need right now? Yeah, what's that? What's that list of skills that you have?
today I want to shine the spotlight on something that I think we have heard of. We probably know it, but maybe it's not in the front of our minds. Okay, so I want to start with this analogy. I'm sure all of us have bought either a laptop computer or a desktop computer. If you have noticed, all computers come pre-installed with at least an operating system. So it's either Windows or the iOS system. And on top of that, the retailers might also bundle with the laptop or computer, by installing it with the Office, Microsoft Office, okay, at least the home version, so that when you bring the laptop home, you can immediately do something with it, right? Now, but then if you want to do other things, like maybe you want to do some video editing or audio editing or, some art creation and things like that, those are not included in the pre-installed package, all right? So what you need to do is you need to purchase the software, you need to download it, you need to install it, and then you can begin to use it. Now, in the same way, a child comes into this world pre-installed with a basic operating system, okay? The child has a brain. A brain is designed to function in certain ways. The brain is designed to be learning, constantly learning, forming new neural pathways, as well as, being flexible and malleable in changing the patterns and changing habits. But the child doesn't come with all the necessary skills to be able to live an independent, successfully independent adult life. That is the job of the parents. That is the job of all the caregivers in this child's lives, to download the necessary software, to install it, and then to teach the child to use the software. Okay, and the skills that I'm talking about today and want to shine a spotlight is known as the executive functions. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next executive functions are, a few of them, and I'm sure you've heard of some of them. For example, inhibition or, inhibition control, which is impulse control, memory, organization, emotional regulation, and so on and so forth. All right. Now, so depending on what source you get it from, there are anything from between 5 to 8 executive functions. Some of them kind of combine a few together and all that. Now, so these are executive functions, which are very important. Why are they important? Well, let me just say executive functions, next slide, please, help us plan, focus, attention, switch gears, and juggle, multitask. Okay, so these are very important skills later on in life, like when the child goes to school and then becomes an adult. All these are very, very necessary skills, and they are developed or learned right from the beginning. Okay, acquiring the early building blocks of these skills is one of the most important and challenging tasks of the early childhood years. Okay, it's challenging.
Sorry, at this point, I also like to mention that these skills, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, they always appear as, learning disabilities, like, things to point out, right? When you see that, your child is not learning right, or a bit slower, and nothing wrong with that. But I feel as well that these skills are essential to anyone, even us as adults, right? And they're so important, regardless, of where your child's learning point is, right? I mean, if you take a look at what's in executive functioning, a simple task like a simple thing like task initiation, right? We constantly nag our children to get started. When are you starting? When are you going to, start learning about your things here, whatever it is, right? And we sound like broken tape recorders if we don't, harness this skill. So I think this is really, really important. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this are very important. It's like, the fundamental skills, the ability, because, and you're right to say also that if they're not properly developed, it can show up as, very similar to some of the disorders. For example, ADHD, if a child has not developed well in the area of attention and impulse control, for example, then later on in his childhood, or even in adulthood, he may appear to be someone with ADHD. Now, I'm not saying it is, but it could develop into that, this is what studies have found. Okay. And so I don't want any parent to panic. There's no reason to panic. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So moving on, executive function skills are crucial building blocks for the early development of both cognitive and social capacities. All right. So it's not just training the brain to be able to be a good student in school and doing well in school, but it's also as a human being, how do you build relationships? So these skills are also important in just getting along with people. Executive function underlie a broad range of large and small life skills, competencies, and behavior, and it prepares you for school and academic success. Okay. Now, one of the things that can disrupt the development of these skills is trauma. All right. Early trauma during the childhood, traumatic incidences and experiences in childhood can cause the child to, be disrupted in this development because the child is just overwhelmed with stress and anxiety. The brain is not as open to learn, because it's just coping with the stress and anxiety the child is feeling. So it's important for parents to create a safe environment at home, a safe haven, I call it, where there is calm, there's tranquility, there is peace, and so parents, look out for your marriage because marital conflicts is one of the major causes of stress and anxiety in children, no matter what age, even teenagers. Okay. Now, and the thing is, children's brains are 90% developed by the time they reach age 5. Now, what it mean by develop 90% developed doesn't mean that the brain stops growing at a certain age. The brain does not stop growing. Well, it does maybe stop growing in terms of size. By age 25, every part of the brain has already been fully developed.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one being the prefrontal cortex, which is right in front, behind your forehead, which is responsible for the executive functions. So in other words, you have actually up to 25 years to develop all these executive skills. But the sooner you do them, the better it is because you need them, all right, within that 25 years. But after 25 years, the brain is still malleable. You can still train the brain. And so, the saying, you cannot teach old dogs new tricks is totally not true.
I was going to say, I'm too old for this, but yeah, I cannot say that because of you. So
yeah. So old dogs, we can still learn new tricks. All right.
Park Sun,
Okay.
there has been a few mentions, I think some of our viewers are asking, how do they improve the concentration of their toddler? Would any of this have to do with, improving the concentration of their children, especially, when not just home-based learning. Let's just talk about reading a storybook, right? Would any of this executive functioning skills actually apply, and can they start now?
Oh yes. So it's the little things that we do. All right. This is not a curriculum. This is not, but it's the everyday activities and, how you help the child to get used to routines and form routines and live within those routines, that actually through those you are actually developing some of these skills for the child. Okay. So yes, you can start as early. And so next slide, I would want to say to you again, children aren't born with these executive skills, but the good news is that they have potential and there's opportunities for practice. Now, by potential, next slide, please. Okay. Yeah. By potential, what I mean is the brain, because the child is born with this brain, provided the brain has not suffered any injury or is not deformed in any way. This child has the potential to learn. All right. And even sometimes without knowing it, your child is learning it. Okay. And through practice. So practice is a bit more intentional. Practice is what the parents or any of the adult caregivers of the child does with the child that allows the child to keep using these skills. And the more they use it, the better they are able to master them. So this talk is entitled Training the Young Brain, which is actually the name of a workshop that we've newly developed at Center for Fathering. And it's to help parents to understand the executive functions and understand what are the simple things they can do on an everyday basis to help develop some of the key ones. For example, working memory. And then we have impulse control, and also we have emotional regulation. Okay, so we will focus on a few of these executive functions and give parents some examples of games and songs and activities that they can do that are actually helping the child develop these skills and train them in these skills. Okay,
That's so awesome, Parkson. I think the father, the role of the father has evolved. Yeah, and I think parents, fathers nowadays are so much more involved in their children's lives, and I think that's so great, for the children that we have. Yeah, and it's so important for daddy to be, to be able to know what to do. Sometimes, my husband can be clueless as well as to how to, be engaged in our children's lives. So I think this is really, really good. So guys, remember to head down to Center for Fathering, was that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. To check out on those that course, right? It was a course or a training?
It's a workshop. Yeah.
It's a workshop. Okay. All right. Let's carry on then.
Yeah. More about that workshop in the coming slides. But in this workshop, we will also talk about the importance of play. All right. It's not about, training the executive functions. You don't sit down and you explain to the child, okay, now I'm going to focus on this part of your brain. Okay. We don't do that. All right. They have not really identified which part of the brain is responsible for which executive function. It's all in this part called the prefrontal cortex. So play is a very important element for childhood, all right? And I think, so I want to bring clarity to parents and also emphasize to them the importance of play and how beneficial it is, especially for children. And, for Singaporean parents, we like to say, stop playing and go and do your work. So in the minds of Singaporean parents, anything that's not related to schoolwork is play.
Yes.
All right. So is that true? Okay. So what is the opposite of play? Well, come and attend the workshop to find out. And because we are a Center for Fathering, we will always want to emphasize about fathers. We want to talk about fathers, and we want to, encourage fathers and congratulate them for being active today. So when dads play, fathers and mothers play with their kids, but they play differently.
Yes, I so agree. Yes, I so agree.
Yeah, I'm sure you see it in yourselves, right? Correct. Fathers like to run faster and tell the kid, run faster. And the mothers will say, not so fast, And fathers will tell the children to jump higher, and the mothers will say, no. Okay. Well, who is right and who's wrong? Both are right, And that's why a child needs both father and mother. That's the most ideal, advantageous thing to have for both parents. Because they have two parents, they get to experience the two, I would say, extremes or two sides of play. Okay. And fathers are very important to children in terms of play, because through their way of playing, especially the rough and tumble, and risk-taking, the child learns to take risks in a safe way. The child learns social skills, and the child learns emotional regulation. Okay, and many, many other skills. All right, there's just too many.
We play different roles. I mean, the mother is the protector most of the time, right? I mean, yeah, and then the daddy is a risk taker. Although I will say that I take risks with my children, but it's we do play different roles, and it's so essential that we are the yin and the yang, right? So two parts need to play. Both roles are important, right? And it has to balance out. Yeah, that's right. You're so right. Yeah.
Well, that's what research has found. So credit doesn't go to me.
Okay. So thank you so much, Parkson. I believe you've come to the end of your presentation. So
there's actually one more slide which is kind of missed out here, and that's about reading.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll also talk about reading, and we'll talk about, how do you select the right kind of app for your child, and how old should your child be before you expose your child to a digital device? Okay, because there's been studies about how reading from a book and reading from a screen develops the brain differently. It wires the brain differently. And so the advice given by the experts is that, you should train the child to read from the book because it will wire the brain in a certain way before you train the child or allow the child to read from the screen. And the cut-off age is around 5 years old, which in other words, before the age of 5, try not to expose your child to any sort of screen. And some even say, including the television.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Parkson, for sharing with us the importance of executive functioning. We have to move on because we have a very tight timeline today. But before we move, we've got that surprise for you from Shopee. Now, the Shopee vouchers are up for grabs. All right, take out that phone right now and scan that QR code. All right, we've also got that link down there. We've got the link in the chat box, so you can use that as well. Now, so the first 200 webinar participants get $3 off, no minimum spend on Shopee toys, kids and babies category products. Now, terms and conditions apply and it expires 23rd of May. Now, guys, as I said, there are lots of stuff. There's lots of stuff being sold and really great brands, great products. And who doesn't want to save money, right, when they have a newborn? AC, especially you. Right? Yeah, because you spend a lot when you have a newborn. So let's all take advantage of this $3 Shopee voucher. And those who can't scan right now, don't worry, okay? We'll be back with the vouchers again during the webinar. So stay tuned. All right. So we can move on. Last but not least, we have AC. Now, he will be sharing with us pointers on effective home-based learning. Now, AC, I got to tell you, right, there's been lots of questions, right, from our viewers about home-based learning, about, being on the screen, how long does my child, should my child be on screen and all that kind of thing. And he's going to tell us how to leverage technology for safe and engaging learning during the COVID-19 crisis. No time better than now. So on over to you, AC.
Thank you, Jamie. Hey, everyone, I'm AC. As you guys know, I used to be a father of one. Now I'm a father of two.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I actually spent my career, I think, helping financial institutions, urban mobility, and media companies to digitalize. And today I'm leading Lingo Ace, an edutech provider that focuses on digitizing language learning for learners between 4 to 15 years old. Now, today, I think that there are really 3 questions that I hope everyone can take home with, right? One is how to leverage tech and what are the benefits for my children during this COVID-19 period. Number 2, of course, lots of questions about how to make home-based learning more effective. I think I really want to address that. And third is really how do we boost our child's language academic skills during this holidays? Very, very topical as we go into June holidays. Now, if you can go to the next slide. Now,
the canes. Oh gosh. Okay, let's carry on.
I guess a couple of headlines, and they are all leading to the same question, right? More home-based learning, does it mean more challenges for the parents? I think my favorite headline is really this one in the middle. Singaporean mom shares hilarious discovery of trying to buy a cane when they're all sold out. I think all of us can empathize with this situation. How do we keep our child, I think, engaged more than disciplined, but really how do we keep them engaged during this period where things are not as they are starting to change really. Going to next slide. Now maybe let me highlight a paradigm shift, right, rather than highlight the challenges of home-based learning. I think many of us experience a version of home-based learning in our workplaces, where instead of attending in-person meeting, we're now all attending conferences, learning lessons, or team meetings online. Now, home-based learning is really the same paradigm shift. The same way once upon a time, we adults frowned upon having video conferences. Today, we are all pretty nifty with changing Zoom backgrounds and ensuring your head is within the picture frame while you're having conferences, right? So I think really the key here is about how do we, through very careful crafting of the lesson platforms, we can really create digital environments that allows teachers to encourage interaction or to toggle on and off interactions between students as and when students may face a higher peer stress as they're learning, and they might prefer a different kind of environment. So really designing the digital environment is super important to see how do we actually increase learning in home-based learning kind of environment. And the second one is that on online learning, really interesting thing that's trending, I think, within the edutech world is how do we get learners to access teachers that are beyond their physical borders? Now, in China, where the edutech industry is the most advanced, we actually starting to see many star math, science, language tutors or teachers. They're hosting massive online lessons that allow students from all over the country to log in and learn. And of course, with online learning, we are no longer bound to the paper and the whiteboard. Through proprietary courseware, edutech companies can actually bring lessons to life. In Lingo Ace, where I'm from, we believe language learning needs to be achieved through storytelling and sharing of culture. So how we do it is that we create stories, characters, and games to engage our digital native learners.
AC, I love that point about how, we can reach across the globe and just really find anyone, right, an expert in the area to just teach us, right? I mean, what's stopping me from, getting, I don't know, an Italian to teach me Italian, right? Nothing's stopping me right now. And I think that's fantastic because we've actually broken down all those boundaries and we've made the world smaller in that sense. Yeah, so I can just reach across my screen and, look for the best person to teach my child. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And nice actually, Jamie, have you seen the all the internet memes where adult Zoom participants forgot to turn off their Zoom camera or they brought their laptop into the washrooms?
Oh my gosh, yes, I've been a victim. Yeah.
So you know what's that called? What do you call that?
No, I have no idea. Tell me, what's this?
That's attending to business while attending to business.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So similarly, I think we also hear about our learners taking lessons from their comfort of their hotel rooms on staycations. So one feature of online learning is you can do it from anywhere. You can even do it from your staycations. Although we strongly encourage our parents to spend time with their child on staycations, but we have such incidents.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Staycations, I'm there to relax, right? And I definitely don't want to stress myself out, let alone my children, right? And I'm sure the children at home are screaming their lungs out, how can this guy say such a thing? But yeah, I understand what you mean in a sense that you can really access, learning anytime, anywhere, right? And you can even be on the move with your child in the back. And, my child could be on a storybook, an interactive story, right? Being told by someone. So yeah, absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, spot on, Jamie. All right, So I think really just moving on. So how do we then ensure that the learning environment online it's actually value adding? It's ensuring that your child gets the most out of the lesson. There are actually 6 things that I highlight, but I really want to focus on the first 4 things: software interactivity, teacher, as well as duration. Now, when I think many of us right now, especially going to the June holidays, are thinking, hey, how do I keep my kids engaged? Can I use online learning or online boot camps or online camps or learning enrichment centers? One thing I want to highlight is really find out what software are they using. Now, a lot of tuition centers and enrichment centers today are using third-party providers such as Google Classroom, ClassIn, or even just Zoom. Do note that not all platforms are created equal when delivering a lesson and the content. So really find out what they are using. And I also want to highlight that today, more advanced edutech companies are opting for proprietarily developed platforms that allows animation, homework, and even they even, for example, for us, we have differentiated access or differentiated platforms for the students and the parents to ensure that we are able to provide a seamless experience both for the parents as well as for the students. Now, going to interactivity, I see a ton of questions, very, very important questions around, hey, how do we create social interaction in home-based learning? I think here a really, really critical component is do find out if your providers are doing live teaching or recorded sessions. Obviously, live teaching will then mean that the interactivity and the interaction element is still very, very strong, especially when you start to push down the group size. So really, again, find out whether are you doing a one-to-one class or is it a 4-to-1 class. try to keep the classes as small as possible to ensure that the element of interaction is still front and center of your child's development. Next, teachers. Now, the skills I think required to teach online and offline is quite different from our research and our observation.
Yes.
As one of my Chinese, I used to do Chinese drama, and my Chinese drama teacher loved to say, the level of action is really proportionate to the distance of the camera to your face, right? If you're teaching offline, you can be flinging your hands around, but you're teaching online, obviously your facial expression is super important. How do you smile to your child? How do you communicate over camera? And this is really, ensuring that the teacher who delivers that lesson is super focused on ensuring that they give a good lesson experience over the camera. And finally, I think pretty unique to the online learning, we encourage everyone to pay special attention to the length of the class or duration of the class. I'm sure everyone has attended that 2-3 hour long, Zoom meeting where everyone's dozing off by the last hour. I think this effect is amplified when you talk about young learners. So really keep those durations short, keep those duration really punchy so that they get the most out of that. If younger learners, keep it within 25 minutes, 30 minutes, or slightly older learner, keep it within 1 hour, but keep it short. And imagine, in the future where once upon a time, of course, tuition centers tend to have longer sessions, because I think all of us parents can empathize the feeling of ferrying your child to the tuition center, finding a cafe where the Wi-Fi and then sitting down there trying to pass times for 2 hours. In the online environment, you no longer need to ferry your child to the tuition center. So the duration is no longer a barrier. Find short, punchy, high frequency learning and opportunities to really get that chance for your child to learn in a short, punchy way where they can get the most out of the lesson.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, duration does play a part. I mean, you can't have you can't be sitting in front of the screen for 2 hours, can you? Yeah, and I think it's a concern for a lot of parents as well. So moving on, AC, if we can just, the next slide, which would be, how to leverage on the technology, right? I think you did share about how we can actually use technology to help us through this COVID period, right? And to engage our children, right? And to find the right tech tools and all of that, right? And maybe you can, do you have any tips for us in terms of, how to, because these are expensive. So how do we get them and that kind of thing?
When you say tech tools, so I mean, obviously we're all very familiar with laptops, iPads, and the equivalent. Is that what you're referring to?
Not just that, but even for some parents were saying that we should, how do we get them off YouTube? Like, how do we keep them off the YouTube at that point, right?
Yeah.
Is there does the Kids Safe do that?
Yep. So Kids Safe certification is actually a slightly different seal, and I can go into detail later. But I think just want to address your question about how do we get them off YouTube.
Yeah.
Of course, I think all parents at some point or another we tempted to put on YouTube. I think, but what I really want to highlight here between home-based learning and YouTube is that it's really a two completely different discussion, right? One is a passive engagement with the screen where hopefully our childs are not, doom scrolling. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term doom scrolling through different YouTube videos. That's of course a very, very passive experience that does not engage the executive function. On the other side, home-based learning should be about your child engaging with the teacher, interacting with the homework, interacting with the content on the screen, and thinking through their experience. I would really encourage everyone to, when looking out for tech-enabled home-based learning, to look for that as the experience that you over-index for, rather than looking for that passive YouTube experience where you're sitting back on a couch, watching a screen, and that will not help significantly with how your child acquires knowledge and language and skills.
Okay, thank you so much, AC. So now we've got to move on with, because we're really tight for time. So because we're eating into Q&A time right now. Oh no, okay. So we need a poll right now from our audience. Does your child have difficulty with the mother tongue? Does your child have difficulty with mother tongue? Yes or no? I know mine do, because I don't speak mother tongue at home. So, it's our fault because it's so difficult for us to actually language switch at home, right? So let's do this quick poll question, guys. And it should be over in a few seconds. I know for me, I mean, my husband, he learned Malay and I learned Mandarin. So he decided that, our kids would, go and learn Mandarin. And I think I don't speak it often enough. So I think that's something that we all struggle with at home. Guys, do we have the poll results out, or are we still waiting? Yes, we do. Okay, so 58%. Okay, so half. Some do struggle with it. Some don't. And I guess with the increasing awareness, right, of everyone having difficulty with their children having difficulty with the mother tongue, right? I think there's been a lot of tips and tricks and people talking about it and workshops, right? How to get our children to speak more at home, right? And let's go on to our next poll. How frequently do you speak that language at home? Guys, how frequently do you get to speak this language at home? We're referring to the mother tongue that you mentioned before. So is it less than 25% of conversations, less than 50, over 50, almost 100% of the conversations you guys speak that mother tongue at home? I know for myself, I'm at, less than 25%. So AC, what about you? Do you converse in I don't know, what's the mother tongue for your kids?
For my family, it's Chinese.
Okay, so for Chinese, do you speak it at
I'm
home?
trying very hard to. But to be honest, even as someone who's coming from an edutech background, I can empathize with the difficulty of that.
Yeah, so I guess what we try to do at home is we try to switch the channel, right? The subtitles for things like Netflix. So we try to actually have that so that our kids listen to mother tongue more. So here's the results of our poll. It's less than 25% of the conversations, and that's 38% of our viewers. So yeah, I empathize, guys. I'm a part of you. Okay, so AC, I did mention about toggling with the subtitles button, and maybe you have other tips for us.
Yeah, for sure. And very interesting. I mean, just echoing what Mr. Parkson mentioned earlier. Really, the key that we have found is really converse and speak and talk to your child. I mean, studies from Stanford and Harvard shows that the key to language acquisition is really about creating that language-rich environment, and this really means having one-to-one conversations with your child, whether is it meal prep, or whether is it just driving to school, or anything, even just watching TV. Spend the time and talk to your child. And just moving on to the next slide, keeping in mind time. Sorry, we'll just go ahead to the next one, to the last slide. Yeah, so I think just going into this June holidays, just a couple of tips, right? So how do we improve our child's language academic skills? First of all, there are actually a lot of edutech providers out there who actually provide trial classes where a proficiency quiz is part of the trial class. So do that, get your child signed up for this holiday, get your child signed up for that, get a sense of where your child is at in terms of their proficiency. Number two, really speak to your child as much as possible, whether is it Chinese, whether is it English, whether is it Malay. Really spend the time to speak to them about things that interest them and to create that conversation. And if not, if you are feeling less comfortable in that particular language, find diverse books and media that really exposes your child to a variety of language. That's another way we can create a language-rich environment. So what I think, just to sum everything up, I really hope that all the parents who are attending this call, just three takeaways, right? And number one is that tech-enabled learning, I think there's a lot of advantage. Think about once upon a time, we adults, hated video conference. Today, we're embracing it. What we hope is that for the same for your child. Number two is that tech-enabled home-based learning is different. Go in with an open mind, but don't compromise on that interaction. Find platforms, find providers that really overemphasize on that social interaction, that communication, that conversation, to make sure that your child continues to learn on home-based learning. And the last thing, I just want to again echo Mr. Parkson's point, converse, speak, talk to your child. That is what I hope the 3 things that everyone can take away with as we go into the June holidays. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, AC, for rushing through those slides as well. But I gotta say, yeah, you're right. We need to find engaging platforms for our children. We can't just put them in front of the screen and hope, that they're gonna learn. Yeah, we've got to change it up. Got to make it exciting, impactful, right? So, yeah. Now AC has a very, very special surprise for us from Lingo Ace for today. Okay, so parents, viewers, whip out your phones and cameras, all right? And in conjunction with the Singapore Parenting Festival 2021, Lingo Ace is giving away complimentary trial classes, and there is also up to 30% discount. A 30% discount, guys, if you purchase their class package. Now I can promise that it's going to be interactive and it's going to be, filled with different kinds of platforms to engage your children, right? So this is eligible for the first 50 signups, all right? And they offer Chinese online live classes for learners aged 4 to 15 years old. And there's that all-important QR code right there, okay? Now scan away. Now take advantage of this exclusive deal only available at the Singapore Parenting Festival 2021. Thank you so much, Parkson, for that little gift from Lingo Ace. Now, we're going to attend to your questions now. We only have time for a few. So maybe I can address this question to Melissa. Now we have a viewer asking if how do I know when my child is ready to progress to scissors, right? Sharp objects, especially in the kitchen. Yeah, and doing art and craft and stuff like that. When do I let go of the scissors? Yeah, and yeah, maybe you have a piece of advice for us.
I think for developmentally appropriate activities such as the milestones, all these are very readily available on the internet, because there are a lot of other questions like at how old should my child learn this? All this is like you can actually see in from the internet, because they are like fixed milestones. However, in terms of like safety and like whether the kitchen is hot stuff, those kind of thing, I think that one really, for parents, really need to observe the readiness of your child. Of course, not to slowly prepare them to understand what is hot and what is safety. So we don't just like totally shun them away from these experiences, but also to slowly prepare them step by step to understand what it is. Yeah.
And to guide them as well, right, in the process. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Melissa, for that. Parkson, maybe we've got one for you as well. What are your thoughts on homeschooling?
Well, I personally did not homeschool my kids.
Well, what do you think about it?
But I know a number of friends who have homeschooled, and it seems to be a very, very productive experience and journey. I think it really depends on the parents. I think the parents need to maybe talk to other homeschooling parents and find out what's involved and how do they do it, and then really honestly evaluate themselves and says, am I up to it? Do I think I can do it? And things like that. Now, the good thing is that you'll probably not be alone if you can join or somehow be integrated into one of those homeschooling communities. Then you will probably be receiving a lot of guidance, a lot of help and support from the other homeschooling parents.
Okay, thank you so much, Parkson, for that that insight, and thank you also for sharing with us about the executive functioning skills as well. I'm sure a lot of parents actually appreciate that. And I think we've got one last question for AC, our new daddy. Can I ask, AC, maybe you can suggest, like, of course, there's always this balance that we're talking about, right? Because we've got on-screen learning, and of course there is the factor of the eyes, right? And would you suggest that we have a schedule perhaps drawn out for our kids, to have breaks, right? Eye breaks, right? From the screen as well, when we do HBL at home.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think actually if you do, the American Optometric Association actually recommends like a 20-20-20 rule, where every time you do home-based learning where you're facing the screen, for every 20 minutes that you're looking at the screen, spend at least 20 seconds looking at an object that is 20 feet away, right? So 20-20-20, 20 minutes for 20 seconds then look at something that's 20 feet away. That's, I think, one very, very helpful tip. And second thing is that, you know, for every hour or so, do make sure that your child takes like a 10-minute walk, just step away from the screen, walk around the house. I know we can't leave the house at the moment, so walk away from the house, walk away from the screen, walk around the house, and then come back to your lesson after that. So making sure that all of us help our child to kind of keep, you know, sensitive to the time that they face the screen. That will be very, very helpful for their eyes.
I like the 20-20-20 tip. That's really, really easy to remember. Thanks so much, AC. Okay, now, guys, we are running short of time, but before we go, I need to give you another round with the Shopee vouchers again. So Shopee's back. Please scan that QR code or go to the link. Now, this Shopee voucher is for our first 200 webinar participants. Get $3 off, no minimum spend on Shopee toys, kids, and baby category products, right? And terms and conditions apply. So please use our vouchers. It expires 23rd May. That's tomorrow, guys, in case you're wondering, right? So please use it tonight, tomorrow. I'm sure all of us could use some retail therapy, right? Homebound. Yeah, so I know I could. So yeah, do go on down, you know, spend a bit of money if it makes you happy, right? And I want to thank you everyone for joining us today. Now, I know times are really, really tough, and you know, we're going through, you know, kids at home, and we've got schedules to meet and all of that, but thank you so much. You've made it such a success for all of us, and from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. Now, the Singapore Parenting Festival is proudly presented to you by MediaCorp and the Asian Parent, which is made possible by these key partners: official e-commerce partner Shopee, platinum partner Walsh, gold partners GSK Scots, Dumex Dugrow, Nestle Milo, Nature One Dairy, our silver partners Abbott Similac, Pampers, and Nestle Nan, and our content partners Center for Fathering, Moms for Life, and Dads for Life. Guys, there is a grand sale happening during the Asian Parent Festival, so please do check it out. Okay, it's awesome. All right. Do go on and visit us on spf2021.theasianparent.com. Thank you to all our panelists today for being here, making the time. Oh gosh, I'm sure, I mean, with AC, there's so much more to attend to, but he was with us today. For Parkson, I know, thank you so much, Parkson, for spending time with us today, and Melissa, so grateful. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session. And guys, have a fantastic Saturday. Have a good weekend, you know, engage your children, be with your children, converse with your children. They will definitely be the better for it. And guys, stay safe and take care. Bye-bye from all of us at the Asian Parent Festival, or rather the Singapore Parenting Festival 2021. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.